Hello and welcome to the Fen Den. I'm your host, Sean Allen Fenn, and my goal is to win your hearts and to change your minds.
Hey, welcome to the Fen Den. I am your host with the most, Sean Allen Fenn. Let's talk about why, and let's talk about the danger of not having a why. Why am I doing this podcast? Is it simply to win your hearts and change your minds? Or am I playing a long game to where I have a purpose and a mission that I need to fill? What is your why? There recently was a tragedy in Austin where this dude blew himself up. Okay, the Austin bomber. And the reason I bring this up is because the news reports say that he didn't have a motive. He didn't have a why. So he left this confession and he left out any kind of motive. He didn't express why. Was he a terrorist? Well, sure. I mean, anyone who does a terrible act can be a terrorist. But he didn't have like some crazy agenda. He didn't have a why. Now, even terrorists who do have a why, I mean, let's get real. If they are a crazy religious Muslim on the wrong side of religion, okay, if they have a religion that hurts people instead of helps people, you know what? They have a why. You know why they're doing it, and to them, and to them, those people in their whoever they affiliate with, who agrees with them. Now their why is not a good why, clearly, but to them, it is, oh man, it's sad because it's not a good why, but at least it's a reason and it's meaning. It's a wrong kind of meaning in a negative way. However, it binds those people together that do those sorts of acts. But in this case, I mean, that's not a good thing, of course. It's a good thing when it's reversed and you have a why that brings people together for good. In this case, though, this Austin bomber, he didn't have any kind of why and blows himself up. What the hell are you supposed to do with that? I mean, without a why, you'll destroy yourself and those around you. So don't get me wrong, because there's always a reason for everything. You've heard the saying that everything happens for a reason. You know, sometimes that reason is a stupid reason. And that's why I'm going to talk about my core values. And I want to do this, I want to explain and articulate my core values on this podcast, so that those who listening, who agree and feel the same way, and those who disagree, we at least know each other's motives and we know each other's why. And I believe that we have to do that to create a community and to create a semblance of strength in numbers and common purpose and a meaningful goal, creating a meaningful life. Because the three most important things to me, and I believe to anyone who does something great with their lives and leaves an impact on the world, are these three things that all of us have in common: purpose, meaning, and significance. Those are the three things that we are looking for as like-minded, growing community of go-getters. By the way, ask me about my private Facebook group, Go-Getters. It's a group for people who have these three common factors: a sense of purpose, meaning, and significance. Number one, you have to have a good attitude. You have to have a spectacular attitude. You can hear that I'm smiling, and it's easy to not be self-aware, and the more you can be self-aware and remember that your physiology is tied into your emotions and your mind, okay? And your body and your emotions respond to each other. Now, I don't want to get too much off on that tangent, but it's important to act first and everything else will fall into place. What do I mean by that? It means commit first. You make a decision and you commit to something first, and then everything will fall into place. That doesn't mean everything will be easy. Of course it won't be easy. But you'll be amazed what you can get done. And the secret to doing that is to go after people who have integrity. Go after people who are doing something great with their lives, and go after those people and serve them. Go after the people who are showing that they have the intention of doing something good and meaningful. They have a sense of purpose. They have a sense of meaning and significance. Serve those people and watch how everything falls into place. I'm not saying don't help the poor and needy, because I do believe that we're responsible for helping the entire human race. But devote your attention, in terms of a business sense. Now, hear me out on this. In terms of doing business, don't go after the people as your customers who are poor and needy. I mean, the reason I bring this up, it seems like so simple and obvious, but I had a conversation with someone and asked her about her business that she was starting, and it was so funny. She was doing another business that she wanted to do, this kind of agency for nannies, and then I asked her, and she's like, "Oh no, that didn't work." So now what she's doing is she started a business and she set up an LLC to help impoverished people play with their kids. And she told me how she put a whole thing together with Play-Doh and coloring books and things to help people play with their kids, impoverished people. And okay, I appreciate that people want to do something good, and I believe that you should do something good to, help everybody. The funny thing is, though, is I asked like a really simple question. Okay, where's the cash flow? How do you make money? That's like the first thing. Now, it's not even something that occurred to her until after the fact. I mean, you go and you set up an LLC, but you don't know where the money's coming from. And she's like, well, I looked into flex spending. I'm like, oh, okay, what is that? Because I heard of it, but I didn't know exactly what it was. And she's like, well, companies have money that they want to donate to good causes. I'm like, okay, well, don't you have to be a 401c3 to get that? And she's like, oh, I didn't even think of that. I'm like, okay. All right, well, good luck. And I do wish her the best. And I'm not saying that to be judgmental or anything. I'm not, because I'm saying all this stuff. It's for my ears just as much as yours. I mean, I'm still trying to figure shit out myself, But that's what we're doing together. You're listening to the Fenden podcast because you don't have it figured out, and neither do I, but we're doing it together. We're figuring it out together. And the method to do that effectively, and this is coming from other people who are successful, and this is consistent. Everyone who is successful, everyone who is a millionaire and billionaire, they all have a few things in common. They have a sense of purpose, meaning, and significance, and they model after what works. At least at the point where to get to be a millionaire, you should model what's working already. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. Now, funny thing is, like billionaires like Naveen Jain and other billionaires, they're at the point where they can reinvent the wheel because now they're billionaires. They're worth $1 billion, so now they can play and reinvent things. But in order to get to the first step, just model what works already. And I'm practicing what I preach. If you've been listening to my podcast for a while, The Fenden with your host Sean Allen Fenn, where my goal is to win your hearts and change your minds. Don't forget to send me a shout out on the Twitter and the Instagrams at Sean Allen Fenn on Instagram and Twitter, and like and subscribe. This podcast is on iTunes, so please stop what you're doing right now and subscribe on iTunes and my YouTube. Now, I was saying, my passion project, and that's what it is, I'll be honest, because I love art, and I want you to understand this. But before I tell you to explain my why, just to finish what I was saying, I discovered a business model that works, and actually I didn't come up with it. My new business partner did. And basically, I'm not going to tell you on this podcast the details. You'll have to wait and see. But we're going to model after something new, relatively new, business model in this new sharing economy that we live in. We're going to model it and apply it to the fine art world and shake things up. Okay, that's all I'm going to say for right now, but it's artlyngo.com, ARTLYNGO. So I want to tell you about my why. I don't make art, I am art. On a meta level, Art Lingo is a work of art that fits into commerce. In other words, my brain can't, I have a hard time distinguishing between work and life balance. It doesn't exist to me. I know this is kind of unusual because it seems like there are very few people with minds like this, but I don't see a difference. It's hard for me to see the delineation between what is my bucket of business and what is my bucket of life. I feel like it's the same big bucket and it's overflowing. Does that make sense? So, on a meta level, to me, a brand is taking the energy and the tool of creativity that someone uses to make a painting or a sculpture or artwork, installation, performance art. You're taking that energy and you're applying it to something that becomes useful. Now, the difference between art and design, have you ever thought about this? What is the difference between art and design? I'll tell you. Art is useless and design is useful. But they're using the same creative energy. Just one is channeled towards something useless. And by useless, of course, not literally like black and white useless. Well, if you don't know what I mean, I'll explain it. And design is useful, so it's utilitarian. Now, within that uselessness of art, there is a higher level of usefulness. The only thing is that higher level can't be measured. Does that make sense? So the higher level is the higher functioning, higher mind that exists in your frontal lobe, your pineal gland, and the higher thought, not your reptilian brain, but your higher brain that makes us who we are as humans, that provides us with religion and art and culture. The thing is, at a certain point, it can't be measured, though. I mean, can you measure the usefulness of religion? Like, can you put it on a scale of 1 to 10? Okay, because it has to be measurable for us to even understand and make sense of it. I mean, consistently. You can't communicate. Number one, art is something different to everyone. It's one of those intangible, those immaterial words like natural or what's another, or perfect. Those are not real words. You know what's another unreal that's not real? That's a word for something that is just totally an idea and a myth? Is balance. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing as balance. It's an ideal. It's something that doesn't even exist. It's the middle of between one extreme or another extreme. And it's totally a concept and it's not real. So my brain has a hard time understanding things like that. Do you feel that way too? And so that's why it's kind of a weird, I have to wrap my head around understanding and separating business and life and friends and family. Now, some people are really good at distinguishing between those things, but it doesn't come naturally for me. It's all one thing to me. It's all just living my life and creating the best possible life that I can create while I'm here on this planet. And I mentioned my book before that I'm writing, that you can pre-order on my website, SeanAllenFenn.com/book. And it's about this. It's about this time and place that we're given. It's called the power within the freedom of choice. And just in a nutshell, it's part autobiography, but it is about the time and place that we're given on this planet. And I believe that it's a test. Okay, hear me out. This existence that we're in, okay, you were born on a certain day and time and place in the world to a certain family, and there's no evidence that you can choose any of that. So you're just one day you're awake on this planet, you're born. God knows wherever you land. And then you're given this track. You're given this space. You're given this bubble of existence. You're given this little infantile little bubble, this little speck of existence. Within that speck of existence, we have total freedom. But here, this is another funny thing. This is another funny word, freedom, because that's not a rock solid word either, because that can mean different things to different people. And so, what do you make of it? What meaning do you attach to it? The freedom has confines. It's a confined freedom. I know it's a paradox, but we're living in this confined freedom. And so I've had debates with people whether freedom of choice really exists. I say it exists, but it only exists within like a certain framework, within a certain like speck of time, a bubble. That's what this book is about. It's the freedom, it's the power within the freedom of choice. So while we're here in this module, in this bubble, in this capsule of time and space, of existence, in this form, I know I'm getting esoteric on you. But that's why you're listening to The Fen Den with your host, Sean Allen Fenn. Because, did I change your mind yet? Or win your hearts yet? I hope so. I'm getting, if not, I'm on my way. I'm halfway there. So we're in this capsule of existence. And however you want to define the higher power, higher consciousness, God. Okay, people have different understandings depending on your culture. For me, I have the understanding that comes from Judaism, of Yod He Vav He, the divine creator. And, I mean, however you want to attach meaning to that is up to you. Even if you're an atheist, if you don't believe that in there's a God, if you say there is no God, then that's okay. It's I'm interested in though, like where your motivation comes from, though, and where your inspiration comes from. But that's another subject. Anyway, what we do here. Number one, not even talking about afterlife. I'm not even going to touch the afterlife thing. Because I believe that it's our responsibility, and this is where we failed as humans, it's our responsibility collectively to create heaven on earth. And that's why the intention of my why for this podcast and for everything that I do is to raise up, not followers, but raise up leaders with the intention of growing our community. And if you want to join my private Facebook community of go-getters, please let me know. But our responsibility is to create heaven on earth. And that's something that we failed at collectively. And that's our test, is can we do it? Now if you know, most people know the Adam and Eve story. regardless of what religion that you have reference to, or that you align yourself with, or anyway, most cultures, like throughout history, have a creation story and a way to explain why we're here. And I love the Adam and Eve story. I think it's one of the most profound stories and a fundamental explanation. And do I take it literally? I don't. No, I don't take it literally. Maybe you do, and that's cool, but I don't take it literally. I think it's a metaphor. It's clearly a metaphor. Because, I mean, to say that, like... Anyway, I'm not going to get into it, but it's a metaphor. And the story is briefly that God creates the heavens and the earth. And he creates all of these animals and all of these things and all this wonderful universe, stars in the sky, the creatures of the sea, and the creepy crawly creatures of the earth, and the Tyrannosaurus Rexes, and then he wipes out the dinosaurs. That's not in the Bible, but that's why I think it's a metaphor, because the dinosaurs weren't mentioned in the Bible. So these animals get wiped out. Anyway, before all of these animals, all of these animals already exist, and then as an afterthought, he creates man, or humans, Adam, in the likeness of Yad-Heh-Vav-Heh, in his image, in his reflection. Now there's a powerful metaphor right there, is when you recognize, or if you choose to identify with that, or if it resonates with you, that you were made in the likeness of the divine creator, that means that you are creating. And that's what we're here to do, is to create. And the story of Adam and Eve getting kicked out of the garden is a metaphor for our, how can I say it? For humans dropping the ball and failing to recognize how good we have it and to let it go. Okay, so in the biblical story, man, should I spend this much time on this episode on this? But I think it's really fascinating. I love it. So, if you're listening to the Fenden this far, I'm talking about the Adam and Eve story and what it's a metaphor, how it's a metaphor, how it relates to my why. And the story goes that female... I've got to try to keep this quick. It's so jam-packed with crazy stuff. But, okay, originally female and male were the same. And then the female splits off from the male. And then continues a series of the blame game. So the serpent tempts Eve to partake of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Right there, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, that is can be an entirely huge discussion of what that is. Because it implies that up until that time, there was no understanding of good and evil, of black and white, of this or that, right? So, anyway, so Eve gets tempted by the serpent, and the serpent has like a metaphorical significance that could be, if you believe in the devil, That's like a traditional kind of Christian understanding of it. But it's really, I mean, I'm just going to propose that it is the thing that opposes us. Okay, it's our challenges. It's a thing that is our opposition, that gives us the challenge. And it is the deceptiveness that leads us astray, okay? I'm trying not to get too religious, but I think this is really fascinating. The thing that leads us astray, it's the energy, the opposition that leads us to doubt. And that's basically like what the narrative is the serpent places a seed of doubt in the mind of the woman. And that's really the sin right there, is the doubt. And that's actually what sets the downfall of Adam and Eve. Because up until then, Eve could have refused to doubt. She could have doubted the doubt. When the serpent asked her, well, did God really say that? Did God really mean that? Then the serpent posed it to Eve in a question. Is that really true? Is that what happened? What? And then what did Eve do? Well, she doubted. And then, so she goes ahead and she partakes of the fruit of the tree of good and evil. And then she gets Adam to do it because, dude, if there's a naked lady in front of me asking me to do something, how am I going to resist that? How am I supposed to resist? I mean, I get, like, first of all, it's the only woman on the planet. And I woke up and I'm like, hey, what's going on, babe? And the only woman on the planet, she's a hot babe and she's nude, and she's like, here, eat this. What am I going to say? No? So Adam partakes of the fruit as well. And by doing that, he took part in her doubt. And this is the metaphor that I'm getting at, is that the doubt was transmitted to Adam. And then when God confronts Adam about it, because now Adam's life is falling apart because he took part in that doubt. And then the story goes, and I'm paraphrasing, of course, God comes up and he's like, what's going on, man? Where are you, dude? You're hiding. And what's with this fig leaf? How did you know you were naked? Okay? And so what does Adam do? He blames the woman. And then eventually they get kicked out of the garden. And then then the story goes and it gets crazy. So the point of my telling of this story is showing a couple things. Number one is the danger, the peril, the doom, the certain demise that happens when you accept a seed of doubt. And on the opposite, what happens when you have a seed of the opposite of doubt is faith. Okay? And for those of you who aren't really religious and think I'm speaking another language, I'll put it another way. Faith is the opposite of doubt and worry. It is the the positive direction, the upward direction of that is opposite of what doubt and what worry is, and it is the confidence of what you hope for, and it is the belief in something that other people cannot see, but you can see it. Okay, so you can see where you're going, even if other people can't. You have a purpose. You have a desired outcome that is in line with your purpose, and you are the one who believes in it, and it takes you to believe in that thing before anyone else can, which makes you a leader, because you believe in the thing. And that's all it takes. It is the opposite of doubt, okay? Now, that means instead of focusing on your circumstances, that means that you're wasting your time focusing on your circumstances, but you focus on your desired outcome. And I'm going to get into my core values in a minute, because this is the core value number 7. And I'm gonna come back to it in a sec. But I'm going to tell you the first of my core values. Number 1 core value: be future you today. That means that the version of you that is in your future, number 1, you can decide what your future is. I know some people believe in fate, and some people believe in destiny, and that's fine. Just don't forget that you can invent that. It doesn't exist. You can invent your destiny before it happens. And that's what rule number 1 is. Be future you today. This takes a lot of self-awareness, and this takes surrounding yourself now with the kind of people that you will be surrounded with for future you to succeed. And yeah, that's going to result in getting haters. People who used to be your friend will start resenting you because they feel you slipping away. You know it's true. They'll get scared because they see that you're moving on and they're where they are. And so you're going to get some haters because of that. And the thing is, you have to remember that you're not abandoning anybody. There are people who realize and recognize that it's totally up to them to step up into who they could be to meet their full potential, but they just don't. They don't want to because it's uncomfortable. So you have to be okay with that and surround yourself with the people who you want to be surrounded by, who you want in your inner circle, and you have to do that today. Okay? Which means seek out the people who are doing something. And that doesn't mean that they're perfect. That doesn't mean that they don't make mistakes. But it does mean that what you see
that vision that you have, your destiny that you're going to invent, those people are in that space. Okay, so go to them. It reminds me of I mentioned this episode before last, but this person got a hold of me who has an agency and reached out to me to see if I could bring clients to them, but then has this idea that they want to stay small and that somehow their clients should be attracted to them even though they want to stay small. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, God bless this person, but I couldn't, because I didn't. Her values and the values of the company that she represented, according to how she was explaining them. I don't know if like everyone feels the way she does, but anyway, her values didn't match mine. Just the simple fact that they wanted to be a small boutique and grow organically, that makes no sense. That doesn't mean anything. So you need to seek out where you want to be and do that first. Seek out those people first, and then everything will catch up to you. Does that make sense? So be future you today. Number 2, hold each other accountable. Now, I want to get to the point where, I think we should all hold each other accountable. Like, I would love to just be accountable for myself, but then I don't know. I don't have my head wrapped around that idea yet, because the thing is, like, we need to bounce things off each other. And what you lack, another person has. And that other person lacks something and you have it. And that's how we move forward, by just recognizing where your weaknesses are and seeking out people who can handle that part where you're weak and double down on your strengths. Okay. Number 3. What you want, you have to give. And this is something that is divine, in my opinion, and it is because giving first. This is something that is not easy. I mean, none of this is like super duper easy. It's easier said than done. But give first. Give your time, give your attention, give your money, give to what you want. You've heard people say that people vote with their dollars. Give, but that also means that it's your responsibility to help people and to give to people first. And to give, now the way I phrased it is what you want you have to give, but I want you to understand that you're not giving with the intention of getting. So it's not your intention to get, even though there's some satisfaction in giving because it feels good. And I think that is something that's hardwired into the human brain, because we'll get a dopamine rush when we give to a good cause, and that's beneficial. This one is a challenge for me because I want to give and I need to know what to give that people appreciate. Just be honest with you, like, I know what I want, so I'm gonna give based off of what I would like to be given. And it's really, at the end of the day, it's not even money, because money is just a tool. It's what is the thing behind the thing. It's the freedom, and again, it's the meaning and the significance and the purpose. So give whatever you want. You have to give first. Number 4, show integrity. And I want to clarify something, because I've put it this way on. I have these things up on Instagram on my my story thing, and the integrity is showing character. Another way to say it is showing the strength of your character. And that's something that you have to practice and you have to work on. It's like going to the gym. And I'm not a big fan of going to the gym and working out, even though I think I should. But it's like taking a shower. You can't just do one. Take one shower, because you'll start to stink if you don't keep it up and do it every day. Same thing with all of these core values. Anyway, show integrity, and that requires recognizing your habits that are not benefiting you. They're not serving you in the long game. And like, for example, smoking is a habit that doesn't serve you in the long run. There's a lot to be said for someone who has the willpower to delay gratification. There's a famous study that was done on these children who were given. They're put in a classroom and given a marshmallow. And they were instructed that I don't remember what the premise was. What was it? Anyway, they were given a marshmallow and they were instructed that they have to wait. They can't eat it. And the crazy thing is that the kids who were successful and they didn't eat the marshmallow, they actually showed some delayed gratification capability, even though it was tough. And you can go and find the video of like these kids and and they go nuts. Like they get restless, but the ones who did not eat the marshmallow over time were more successful. Like they tracked their lives and they were the successful people. And by that I mean, the successful people who made more money and had better grades and stuff than the kids who ate the marshmallow and couldn't delay their gratification. So that is the reason I bring that up is being able to choose what serves you in the long run will give you long-term results. And that's if you want long-term results, if you're playing the long game, then you have to know how to do that. And that requires, you can say discipline, or that requires just some self-awareness and self-control. And I think it's impossible to do it unless you have a purpose and unless you know what your end goal is. Okay? Number 5, take initiative. And Taking initiative means that you don't wait for permission. If you see something that needs to be done, you do it. This can also be phrased as conscientiousness. All of these things I'm saying these things because I don't have it all figured out. I'm working on these things myself. And if you're listening to the Fen Den with your host, Sean Allen Fenn, and if you're listening for the first time, God knows I don't have things figured out. Like, my friends know I don't have everything figured out. But I'm on to something, and I believe that you are too, and we're doing this together. Okay? So don't listen to me if you don't want to listen to me. Don't even think about liking and following any of my social media or signing up for my email list or reserving your copy of my book on my website, seanallenfenn.com/book. Don't even think about doing that unless you also want a better life and you want to create heaven on earth. Number 6, tell the truth. Okay, this is a weird one, and this is not any easier than anything else. But because truth is also a mushy word. It really is. Like, okay, how do you define truth? Well, truth is opposite of a lie. Okay, let's just phrase it like that. Another way to say it is don't lie. Okay, tell the truth. You're not going to protect yourself. Now, there's a weird flip side to this. And this relates to rule number 1. And this is a kind of a trippy thing. This is kind of a paradox. Your truth, there's nothing that is going to stop your truth from being your destiny. Those things can be related. In other words, the truth of who your higher self is may, to some people, appear as a lie because they don't believe in you, because they're doubters, because they have that seed of doubt, because they took a bite of the apple and now they are doubters, and now there are people who are scoffers and they're not on your side, but they're still watching you. On the other hand, there's people who are rooting for you, and you want those people, but you also want haters too. But anyway, your truth could be your future truth. It might seem like a lie to people, but you know it's the truth, because only you know what your potential is. All right, so I'm going to wrap this up. This episode of the Fen Den is about core values. And number 7 is the most, probably the most powerful one. And that is, be unreasonable. One of the biggest compliments I've ever got is, Sean, you're being unreasonable. Like, you're damn right. Because I don't settle, dude. I don't settle for less than heaven on earth. Be unreasonable about it. Because what do people do? They make excuses. Again, you're telling a lie when you make an excuse. That's what being reasonable is. You're a liar if you're reasonable. Because you're not telling your truth. When you just say, well, I don't want to have too much. I just want enough to get by. You're making sense of it. I just want to do enough. I'm just doing this for me. Okay? You're selfish if you're just doing anything for you. Now, be unreasonable is the number one thing, and it's the thing that's going to get you to monster levels of success. And it's how you avoid taking no as an answer, because you're unreasonable about it, because you believe so much in what you're doing for people, for others, and you believe in it so much. You see your destiny. Maybe you're the only one who sees it, but you believe in it so much that you have to be unreasonable about it, because people will try to reason you out of it. People will try to say, oh, don't ask for too much. Yeah, fucking ask for too much, man. Because what's going to happen? You anchor really high. Anchor it really high. Ask for too much. And I'm not saying like, shoot for, what's the saying? Shoot for the moon and get the sky, or whatever. There's some kind of saying like that. But you have to aim really high, because what happens if you don't? If you keep your nose down, don't get attention, you're going to end up like going where your focus is. And if your focus is keeping your nose down, you're going to stay down when you need to get up and not listen to reasonable people who don't have your what? They don't have your same sense of purpose. They have their own thing going on. They're making sense of things for themselves. You know what you got to do. Don't let other people try to make sense of things for you. We're given a script, we're given a narrative in life that most people accept as reality, but it's all made up. That whatever script and whatever narrative you're given, you can always change it. You can always change your mind. It's the most powerful thing that you can do. All right? So I'm going to conclude with that. Thanks for listening to The Fen Den. Really appreciate it. Thanks for being awesome.